Student engagement is so important. Students need to be engaged with what they're learning about for it to be meaningful to them and for them to really comprehend it and for it to stick with them. So, something that I could use in my classroom is a student interest survey. So, at the beginning of the year, or even partway through the year, I could give them this survey and this would let me find out like what they like, what they don't like, what they're interested in. And they might write down things on their paper that they wouldn't say directly, to my face. And that way I can learn about what is meaningful to them and I can incorporate those things into my lessons. For example, right now this semester, actually, I'm doing a field in our early childhood center here at the college. And there is a student who he is very special. He has a special place in my heart, but he doesn't really want to comply or do anything at all. But he loves zombies, absolutely loves them. So we were doing this game the other day where the kids had to act like whatever image I put up on the board. Well, the one image I used, because he really wasn't, feeling any of the things that I had put up, I put up a zombie. And all of a sudden he was engaged and he was participating in my lesson. So that little thing that I knew about him really carried a lot of weight. And suddenly, for the rest of the lesson, he was involved and engaged. So that's just one example of how that student interest can be helpful in the classroom. Additionally, whenever I'm teaching and I'm asking for kids to raise their hands and answer questions, I don't want to just keep on calling on the same student over and over again because there's always going to be a student who has his hand up, every single time. So a lot of times I like to make sure the kids have a whiteboard and a marker, and I'll just have them write down the answer to the question, or I'll have them think, pair, share, talk to a partner. And that way, every student has to be thinking about it, and I can see what they're all thinking about it. So whether they want to say it out loud or not, I know that they're engaged with my lesson because I can see what they're thinking. And in addition to that, especially this past year with COVID-19, the kids during class, they had to sit in their seats, their own seat that was 6 feet apart from everyone else. And that can be really taxing on a child, to stay in your seat all day and they get bored and don't really want to pay attention. So I tried to utilize a lot of brain breaks. And this would just break up the lesson if I noticed that the kids were in a daze, not really following along with what we had going on, we would take a brain break. So one of my favorite brain breaks that we would do is called Captain on Deck. So this game would only take about 5 minutes, but as soon as I said it, the kids were up out of their seats and they were ready to listen and play the game. So I had 4 different instructions that I would give the kids, and then they would have to do a movement that corresponds with the instruction. So the first one would go, I'd say Captain on Deck, and they would all stand up and go like this. And then the next one that I would say is scrub the deck. So they would get down on the floor and pretend like they're scrubbing the deck. And then I would say raise the sail, and they would pretend like they're raising the sail. And then the last one I would say, and this was their favorite, was big wave coming, and they would all go, whoa, like that, and they would stand up. So we had those 4 instructions, and then we would go faster and faster, and I would mix them up, and they really had to be listening and paying attention. And again, it only took about 5 minutes, but we would do that activity, and then we'd be like, okay, sit back down, and let's get back to our lesson. And they suddenly had a lot more energy, and they were more focused. So I think really that kinesthetic learning really played a big role in my students' engagement in this past year.